All right, 3, 2, 1. Take it away, Ray.
I thought you were going to lead us in with a couple of questions, Jerry.
Okay, Ray. We have...
Dynamite as always with my producer in the background. Way to drop the ball, Jay.
You wouldn't expect anything less from me, though.
I wish you guys out there in YouTube land could see the apathetic look on his face. He now has defensive body posture, and he looks ever shameful and remorseful. But Jay's a good guy. Give him some slack. Jay, let's go.
All right, so we have a couple of requests and comments. One of our biggest viewers and commenters, ZM Khan, has been asking for predictions on Khabib versus.
Is that the bad guy from the Superman movie, or is that Zord?
I think that was Zod.
Zod. Okay. What's his question?
All right. ZM wants to know, thanks for what is your prediction on Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Edson Barbosa?
All right, I'm going to take this one right off the bat. Khabib Nurmagomedov against Edson Barbosa at 155 pounds. There's really not a clear title challenger past Conor McGregor right now. He dismantled Eddie Alvarez, made light work of him. Doesn't look as if Nate Diaz is going to get a fair crack. Tony Ferguson just upset none other than Kevin Lee for the interim lightweight championship at 155 pounds. Conor's striking is eons beyond that of Tony Ferguson. Kevin Lee's athleticism might have given him a tough time, but right now it looks as if Tony's going to be taking on Conor for the undisputed lightweight championship. I think that the winner of this fight between Khabib and Edson is going to be the next one to get a crack. If history tells us anything, Edson Barbosa is one of those guys who could beat anybody in the world outside of the top 5. Unfortunately, Khabib is not one of those people. Every time Edson got himself put in a position to be the next in line for a title shot, he falls short. He is probably one of the top 3 technical strikers that the UFC has to offer. The only thing on his side right now is that Khabib has been relatively inactive for the last 2 calendar years. He had an unfortunate mistake with some tiramisu somewhere out there in Vegas a while back. You fight fans realize that. He was the next in line to fight Tony Ferguson for the interim lightweight title. Unfortunately, a couple of mishaps happened on the day of weigh-ins where he ate some tainted tiramisu. He was unable to make it there. USADA's been coming in through a vengeance, so a lot of those Russian fighters, I'm not saying they're on the juice, but I'm not saying they're not. They've been unable to perform to the level that they normally do. I'm going to go out on a limb right now. Michael Johnson was able to land a couple of strikes on Khabib. Michael Johnson is a great fighter. I don't think that he has anywhere near the level of striking that Edson does. This is Edson's last crack. He trains with the American Top Team down in Coconut Creek, if I'm not mistaken. He's probably about 32 years old. I think that he's just crafty enough. I think he's seasoned enough. If he comes in and imposes his will to strike from range, look for him to take out the legs of Khabib Nurmagomedov. And if Khabib's legs are not there, he's not going to be able to ragdoll and take him down at will. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Edson might be spending a little bit of time on his back early on in the fight, but I'm going to go with my man, the veteran, the crafty Edson Barbosa out of American Top Team to end this fight. It is a 3-round fight, so that's actually going to play into the favor of Edson Barbosa because Khabib's not going to have the opportunity to pin him down for 5 minutes at a clip for 5 rounds. Gun to my head, you're one of my favorite commenters, Zim Khan, so what I'm going to tell you right now is look for Edson to beat him up in a lopsided decision, and if not, you're just going to see a knockout by attrition somewhere toward the middle or the end of the 3rd round.
How's that?
Did that answer your question?
How do you like me now is what that sounded like.
Cool.
All right.
Next question.
All right. So ZM also wants to know, Ray, about Alistair Overeem versus Francis Ngannou. Take it away.
All right. Alistair Overeem versus Francis Ngannou. These guys are barely human. This is going to be approximately 590 pounds sharing the octagon that night. I am going to have to pull up Francis Ngannou's Wikipedia page because as much as he's on the hype train, Dana White has been promoting the fuck out of Francis Ngannou. He's a Cameroonian fighter. I'd like to say that he's an upgrade of none other than the well-respected Czech Congo, if anyone remembers him. Fight fans new to the game, Czech Congo was a crafty veteran, fought some of the best fighters that the UFC heavyweight division had to offer. So, I'm going to start out with my thoughts on Alistair Overeem. He's looked a little bit chinny in his recent fights. And as everyone knows, when you get in that 206 to 266 pound weight class, you don't really have an opportunity to be chinny because even the weakest of strikers have the opportunity to put guys down at will. We've seen Mark Hunt destroy the likes of a Roy Nelson. We've seen Cain Velasquez just annihilate the likes of a Junior Dos Santos. So, Overeem's last fights, he's beat Fabricio Verdum. He beat the durable, ever-tough Hall of Famer, Mount Rushmorean New Zealand fighter in Mark Hunt. Quite positive. If Mark Hunt's not your favorite fighter, fuck you. He did lose to Stipe Miocic. or Miocic, depending on how you pronounce it. Possibly the greatest American in the world. He's a full-time firefighter, paramedic in Cleveland, and he still has time to hold that heavyweight strap in the UFC's heavyweight division. I don't know how he does it, but my hat is off to you, sir. Before that, he beat Arlovsky, JDS, Roy Nelson, Stefan Struve. I'm going to go back really quick. I have watched Ngannou fight. He moves really well. They have one common opponent in Overeem. I know that for a fact. But other than that, I know he's beaten Anthony Hamilton. Let me pull it up really quick. Bear with me, Zim. There's nothing worse than dead air in a podcast. This one is brought to you by the letter P for Panda, Penguin, and Polar Bear, and the number 7. Shout out to Sesame Street. Hashtag Big Bird.
We in these streets.
All right, so I'm looking at Francis Ngannou. He beat Arlovsky. He beat Anthony Hamilton. Before that, he beat a fighter in the UFC that doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, and his name was Bohan Milovic. And then it was Curtis Blades, and then it was Luis Henrique, William Balducci. None of these other guys even have a page. Anyone out there that's a fight fan, you know that I'm pretty much deep into this. I'm fairly well educated on the fight game. It's kind of hard to judge somebody's talent level when you're not watching them fight the best in the world. And Alistair Overeem is a guy who fought in Pride. He fought in Strikeforce. He's fought the best of the best in the UFC and challenged for that heavyweight strap. I'm going to go ahead and say that Alistair Overeem's technique is so crisp and so sharp, quite possibly the best Thai boxer that the heavyweight division has ever seen. He's also got a lot of submission victories that no one ever seems to bring to the table. If Ngannou can close the distance and do to Overeem what Bigfoot Silva, Travis Brown, and there was one more that beat him. I forget, was it Derek Lewis? Did he beat Alistair Overeem? You positive?
Derek Lewis?
Not sure if it was, but let's just go with the Fabricio Verdum and Fabricio Verdum, Bigfoot Silva, and Travis Brown. I think that Overeem has gotten a little bit more crafty. He's less inflated than he was a couple of years back. He's more of a 245-pound fighter, a little bit better for a Thai boxer. He's spry on his feet. This fight can go one of two ways. Ngannou can close the distance and end this fight quickly, as did Stipe Miocic, or Alistair Overeem can fight from range, utilize what I consider to be the best boxing and Thai boxing that the UFC heavyweight division has to offer, and cruise to a easy decision or a knockout by attrition, very similar to the fight that I just broke down before with Khabib and Edson Barbosa. I'm going to go with you know what, tonight I'm just feeling a little bit nostalgic. I'm going to go with the veteran. I'm going to go with Alistair Overeem by knockout somewhere in the third. I think that Ngannou's going to hang in there tough. Ngannou, although he's green, he's not that young. He's 31 years old. You know, he's been around the block a couple of times. He's not a 25-year-old. So look for Alistair Overeem to impose. And if Alistair Overeem can show up the best way he can and have his head in the fight and be calculated and be smart, if the best version of Alistair Overeem shows up and the best version of Francis Ngannou, I don't see any way of Francis Ngannou getting through. But if Overeem starts rolling the shoulders, dropping the hands, getting flashy, coming out to techno music like he did when he was the Ubereem, Francis Ngannou's going to have a big hole to exploit. So I'm going to go with Overeem by knockout in the third. Ubereem, please don't let me down. Zeev, thanks for the question.
All right, Angry Johnny the Fourth, Jones brother, pound for pound, #1 real N-word with an A at the end, said on the GSP versus Bisping video,
right,
quote, "I pray GSP doesn't win, so hopefully the division can go back to normal." What do you have to say to Angry Johnny the Fourth, Jones brother, pound for pound?
That's an interesting thing, man. I don't see a logical fight for Michael Bisping should he win or lose against GSP. I think this fight is going to clog up the division or leave it with a vacated belt, very similar to the way that GSP did when he beat Johnny Big Rig Hendrix. Apologize for the stutter there. You guys deserve better. I'll try not to let you down next time. GSP, we're going to talk about size, right? So Michael Bisping has fought at light heavyweight. GSP has never fought at under 170 pounds. That being said, Chael Sonnen mentioned it, so I'm going to piggyback on his idea. I do think, and I'm pretty certain that GSP, although he's giving up a little bit in size, he is the stronger man. He's a much more effective grappler. We've seen him time takedowns against good strikers better than anyone the UFC has ever presented. The first time that Michael Bisping commits to a long jab or a cross over the top, I think that GSP, if he shows up anything like he did 4 years ago, is going to shoot a single onto the outside, put Bisping on his back, ride him very similar to the likes of a Tim Kennedy. If you get a chance to go back and Google the highlights, when Tim Kennedy beat Michael Bisping, he made him wear him just like a Damian Maia Hello Kitty backpack for 3 rounds. This is going to be a 5-round fight. I think that GSP is going to get on top, maintain heavy top pressure for the first 2 rounds, leaving Michael Bisping's effective striking a little bit thwarted. His gas tank's going to be affected. That being said, I mentioned earlier before that I'm on a little bit of a nostalgic note tonight. Frankie Edgar is going to be challenging Max Holloway for the 145-pound championship here coming up. Uriah Faber recently left. Tito Ortiz is done. Rashad hasn't looked to be himself in forever. Rampage is just doing something that vaguely resembles mixed martial arts at this point. GSP is fighting Michael Bisping. Bear with me for a moment. GSP won the belt from Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes fought Royce Gracie. Royce Gracie was the first champion that the UFC has ever produced. So here we are, 20-somewhat years later, from the birth of what I consider to be the greatest sport in the world. And we still have someone who is only 1 degree separated from the original champion of the UFC. I think that although people are laughing, this might be a fight of 2 guys slightly past their prime. I, for one, having been a fan of the sport for a long time, I'm going to be sad when these 2 guys go. Just like I'm sad the last time that I heard California Love play when Uriah Faber came out. Lost his last fight. He lost to Jimmy Rivera, but then he beat, I think it was Brad Pickett. Was it Brad One Punch Pickett?
I don't know.
I think it was Brad Pickett. We'll go with that. If it wasn't, who cares? He's a guy that wears a hat like me. It's inconsequential, but they let Uriah Faber go out on top. I would do anything for one more Forrest Griffin fight. I would do anything to see Chuck Liddell of yesteryear come out. I know that he's probably going to be fighting somebody coming up soon. But I tell you what, if you want to feel the effects of age, just wait until your heroes retire. And all of a sudden, I look at the years born in the Wikipedia profiles, and I realize that I'm a touch older than these guys. I've got a couple of gray hairs to prove it. So I, for one, I'm going to make sure that I keep my ass planted in my couch this Saturday because I want these 2 guys to get the send-off that they deserve. GSP put the 170-pound weight class on the map. Matt Hughes was nowhere near the pay-per-view megastar that GSP was. And GSP didn't do it through trash talking. He did it with the most class anyone has ever done it. Guys like him and JDS, I don't think that they often get enough credit that they deserve. But, Michael Bisping spit on Jorge Rivera. And GSP, the closest he ever came to insulting anybody is when he looked Matt Hughes in the face and said, I am not impressed by your performance. Because he is French-Canadian, but we love him anyway. I think that the 185-pound weight class rightfully belongs to Luke Rockhold, Yoel Romero, and Jacare Souza. Maybe Chris Weidman if he can somehow find a way to get back on top. Look for either way that this fight ends. I don't see either guy fighting again unless it's GSP against the likes of a Conor McGregor at 170 for maybe the next July 4th card when they need a mega draw. Because Brock Lesnar's not back, John Jones is doing his thing, and Ronda Rousey is, God knows where. So the UFC needs George St. Pierre right now, and they need him to beat Michael Bisping to make a fight versus Conor McGregor relevant. So if Conor can get past Nate Diaz in a trilogy and then fight George St. Pierre, after that, I don't see any colossal mega draws in the pay-per-view world. I know that quite didn't answer the question that you asked, but I hope that the little riff that I went on was somewhat intelligible. So for Ray, Jay, the MMA guys, that's what we got to say about that.
All right. So
we got one more. That was a fake out. A little premature evacuation.
That was awesome. All right, we've got a couple of short comments here.
Okay, short comments.
Eric Sean says...
I'm 5'10", you dick.
Eric Sean says, Masvidal lost 12 fights, more of a journeyman, no way he beats Thompson. And Mr. Chow says, yeah, there's no way a fighter with double-digit losses can be champ.
Check out Robbie Babyface Lola!
And he...
Is that who he was talking about?
And then he goes, period, oh wait, Robbie Lawler.
Oh, man. I said the same thing, too. Jorge Masvidal got his start fighting in the backyard streets of Miami under the likes of, may he rest in peace, sincerely, Kimbo. Jorge Masvidal is as game as they come. Guys like him and Frankie Edgar, I would pay to watch them fight forever. Fuck technical striking, fuck black belt level jiu-jitsu. You lock a guy in the cage, the Jorge Masvidal that shows up to fight Stephen Thompson is the same Jorge Masvidal that had someone spill a drink on his Pumas at the club on Friday night down in Coral Gables. I tell you what, Stephen Thompson, jokingly, I called this fight Game Bread versus Wonder Bread. Stephen Thompson is probably an upgraded version of Lyoto Machida. He's a guy that uses unorthodox striking, makes quick work of his opponents, makes people look silly. I think that Thompson's going to be able to fight at a different range from Masvidal, but I think a lot of people, once they get cracked, they get afraid to engage. Jorge Masvidal, I basically look at him as like the Cuban Southeastern version of Nick Diaz. He's going to slap him in the face. He's going to say 305, which is Miami, not Stockton. But I tell you what, guys like this, he's a fighter, not a mixed martial artist. You can't count a fighter out in something like that. So Jorge Masvidal, no one really gave him much of a chance against Donald Cerrone, especially since he moved up from 155 pounds to $170. I like Stephen Thompson in this fight, but I tell you what, there's a puncher's chance, and a guy who was able to fight off submissions from the likes of Damian Maia for 15 minutes, you don't get heart like that, since Forrest Griffin. So Masvidal, I'm a fan. Stephen Thompson, I respect you. I do think Stephen Thompson's going to be a little bit too much for Masvidal to deal with. I think that a wrestler is probably the best blueprint to beat up Thompson. We saw him get a little bit afraid to engage with the likes of Tyron Woodley. But if you're going to call Masvidal a journeyman, I think that that's a little bit of a slap in the face. I'm pretty sure Chuck Liddell lost his last 6 on the way out. Rashad lost a bunch. People lose. This isn't boxing. We don't feed guys canned feeder fights just to pad records. Jorge Masvidal he's a Nick Diaz. He's a Donald Cerrone. Anybody, anywhere, anytime, any weight. Let's go. So if you like my videos, give Masvidal a view. Check out a couple of his views on YouTube, a couple of his videos on YouTube. Watch him fight in the backyards. Watch a guy who comes to entertain and comes to scrap.
One of the few street fighters have come up since just a true street fighter in the modern era.
Kimbo Slice, Dada 5000, Tank Abbott.
Who else? Who other than those guys? I mean, Masvidal is he's carrying that flag. He's a true backyard street fighter.
He's an ATT guy. Masvidal has phenomenal kickboxing. He's got slick boxing, very similar to Nick and Nate Diaz. And his jiu-jitsu's not bad. He fought off submissions from Damian motherfucking Maia for 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Damian Maia choked out Carlos Condit in like 80 seconds.
Not even. Yeah.
Was it not? Yeah.
No, it wasn't even. It was like 30 seconds.
So yeah, is he a journeyman?
He's very smart.
He's a self-identified guy where he eats cheeseburgers, he plays video games, he never really took it too seriously. He's got a couple of years left to make his money, and he's finally started to get a name in the sport. If he comes in motivated and he comes in training hard, I do think that Masvidal can make a splash at 170, but I do think that Stephen Thompson is a bad matchup for him.
Okay.
I just be non-committal, right?
Yeah. Also, recent news, I heard he got into it backstage with Bisping. Like, he's somebody who just doesn't give a shit.
Masvidal?
Yeah. He said some shit to him. We'll have to watch that. But hey, I just found this comment. Zim Khan also said, or asked if you would give him a quick prediction on Niko Price versus Vincent Luque.
No.
Okay.
We're going to hopefully edit that out so I don't look like a fucking idiot.
Angry Johnny the Fourth Jones brother, pound for pound, #1 real N-word, says hashtag Team Killishaw. Also, we got just a couple more comments. This one was from Iraq with a K on the Johnny Hendrix versus Borrachinha fight.
Right.
He said, "My man, you've got some bad info, brother. Hendrix is coming off getting smashed by Tim Bosch, a number 20-something middleweight. This whole Hendrix at 185 thing is a crock of shit. He's done. Also, this Paulo kid is 6 feet tall with a longer reach than old T-Rex arms Hendrix. The kid is young, hungry, has 100% finishes, 90% of those by KO. He is not a grappler. He throws a hailstorm of strikes right out of the gate and is a, quote, knockout artist. He's going to run through, he wrote a lot. He's going to run through Johnny, in my opinion. Hendrix is a guy who lost his motivation, and probably his use of diuretics and IV is no longer a top-tier fighter. His only win at 185 was Lombard, an older, shorter guy going through the same slump without his special sauce, thanks USADA, and it was deceptive. Hector came in underweight, 182 pounds. Finally, Johnny has fought one real middleweight, and he got smoked. That's from Iraq. Put a lot of time.
So he's fighting Borrachinha. I actually thought that was Ponzinibbio. So when I saw your comment, I was like, oh crap, I went back and I checked out the tail of the tape. You were absolutely right. This Borrachinha kid packs on a lot of muscle. He's got phenomenal grappling. He's young. He's dynamic. He's explosive. Johnny Hendrix has a puncher's chance if he shows up in shape. I mean, we've seen flashes where he could wrestle the likes of a George St. Pierre, but you're absolutely right. Ever since the debauchery against Tyron Woodley when he missed weight that was for the championship, I believe, when he was fighting Tyron Woodley and he missed weight. One of the few times in history, other than when Chael Sonnen was fighting, I think it was Babalu Sabral. I think it was Babalu. I could be wrong. It doesn't make a difference. But that was one of the few fights where the champion failed to make weight. Chael won that fight, and as a result of the champion not making weight, it wasn't allowed to be a championship fight. So the reason Chael said, and that was in the WEC. So the reason that Chael has never held a belt around his waist is because his opponent didn't have the respect to cut the weight. So what was that viewer's name? Iraq?
That was, IRA.
Iraq. Everybody gets it wrong once in a while, brother. I had it, Ponzinibbio. It's Borrachinha. I'm more in line to agree with you. And I wasn't even aware that Johnny Hendrix fought Tim Bosch. I was moving over the summer, so the last fight that I saw him fight was against Hector Lombard. It was a lackluster fight. It wasn't explosive, but Hector Lombard's a killer. Fought everybody there is to fight. Another overgrown welterweight taking off the secret sauce. My hat is off to you, sir. I'm smart in the fights, but I'm smart enough to admit when I'm wrong. Great comment. Thanks for the viewership. Thanks for supporting the channel. I appreciate you.
That's all right. Justin A says, in rounds 1 and 2, Wonder Bread takes more damage in fencing match and some ground and pound to lose in a close back and forth and knocks Maz out in the third. Justin A.
I disagree with that for one reason. I think that Stephen Thompson, fighting from the outside so much, he's going to be able to be the more effective striker earlier on in the fight. I think that Masvidal is going to try to come in, flurry, throw a couple of punches, very similar to a young Vitor when he was fighting Wanderlei Silva. But if you think that he's going to get the better of the exchanges and striking in the first 2 rounds, I just don't share that opinion, my man. I appreciate you viewing the channel. We appreciate the support. It's not the way that I see it happening. If it does happen that way, I'll be happy to make a video retraction and admit that you were right. I think that if Masvidal is able to get a couple of strikes in, he's going to have to capitalize and jump on it immediately. And I don't think Masvidal is one guy to shy away. When you saw Conor fought Floyd Mayweather, when Conor landed that one uppercut and he didn't engage, when Rashad fought John Jones, caught him with that head kick upstairs and immediately flinched, did not engage. If Masvidal lands, he has to come in and go for broke. I don't think there's a way that Masvidal wins this fight by decision. So I think that Thompson's going to do some fun stuff early on in the fight. And I tell you what, Thompson is a tough kid. You know, as much as we joke around and call him Wonder Bread, he's doing some male modeling now. Him and Luke Rockhold and Alan Jouban, however you pronounce his name, I don't know. Brian Callen's probably beaten off to a post from somewhere over now in California. Jay, too. Yeah, Jay self-admittedly beaten off to Alan Jouban.
I wanted to say something.
What'd you want to say?
Well, not that that's not true, but yeah, him surviving. He got fight of the night at 202 or 205, I believe, against Tyron
Woodley. Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. Stephen Thompson, we proved, he's not just a kickboxer. He stood in there in the cage and he got brutalized. It might not have been 205. It was the first fight when, was it a guillotine or a choke? Woodley had it cranked.
Guillotine.
Woodley was deep, cranking on him.
He just wasn't on that hip enough, or Thompson is just
or Thompson is just a motherfucker. You got to kill him to beat him. I said, I tell you what, you can't judge a book by its cover. You don't need facial scars and an accent from the big city to be a tough guy. So I think that you're a little off on this one, but I look forward to reading your comments in the future. This will all be settled after this Saturday.
Giordano Bruno says, I like Rose and Dillashaw in the co-mains, but you went with the favorites, so you replied to that. Yeah, so shout out to Giordano Bruno.
Yeah, I didn't even get a chance to see who the betting favorites were. Me and Jerry did the initial breakdown on the spot in the same location that we're at now. Much like tonight, I didn't do any homework. These are just my opinions. It's my subjective viewpoint on what I think is going to happen. He's on Team Dillashaw?
No, he's on Team Khabib, number 1 pound for pound. Pound for pound.
Rose Namajunas?
Yeah, he's on. He believes TJ is better, well-rounded overall, and he looked impressive as of late. And it's a tremendous card. Can't fucking.
I don't think anybody can wait for this weekend. Saturday night, I'm going to be plugged in over in Altamont Springs, Florida. My main man Jerry, a couple of guys, new ones are going to be joining us. We're probably going to go live for a podcast. Shark Teeth, Amanda, Jose Rodriguez Experience, ZM Khan.
Some of our new viewers, Eric Sean, Ellerick.
Appreciate what you guys do. And if you guys want, we've actually done this a couple of times. Can they direct message us?
They can pretty much leave a comment, but they can contact us through Twitter at Inside Comics.
If you contact us at Twitter at Inside Comics and you send your phone number, I've done a couple of times where I call up the viewers and we can bounce off a couple of ideas, especially in between the fights. It makes for a little bit of lively conversation. We did that with the Jose Rodriguez Experience and we had a little bit of fun. If any of you guys are in the Central Florida area, on Twitter at Inside Comics, if you want to come catch the fights with us. We're not famous enough yet where we can push people away, but when we get there, we're going to be like, fuck you.
Yeah. Or they can email us at the MMAguys@gmail.com if they want to send us their phone number.
The MMAguys@gmail.com.
Yeah, if they want to email like a phone number. And,
all right. And don't forget to ask questions. Anything that you ask, we'll do this once a week, once every 2 weeks. Please subscribe so you get notifications. The more likes you guys give us, the more subscribers you guys give us, it'll actually allow us to monetize and put a few of these into motion that might look a little better, might sound a little better. It'll get us out of a church auditorium, possibly into a little podcast booth. Constructive criticism is welcome. If you think I have a stupid hat, if you don't like my unibrow, if you think I sound a little bit too much like I'm from Brooklyn, those comments are welcome too. If you think Jay is stupid, I agree. With that being said, be good at it. We're out.